What's going on, everybody? I am continuing ranking every episode of The Office down, getting into the 20s. Almost done here, covering 35 to 26 this time. Let's get into it. Number 35, season 7, episodes 25 and 26, Search Committee, part 1 and 2. The hunt for a brand new regional manager begins as Jim, Toby, and Gabe interview different people for the position. Meanwhile, Pam tries her best to keep acting manager Creed from acting up. Angela gets some new news from the senator, and Dwight gets depressed over losing his regional manager position. So at this point, this is the season finale of season 7, and Michael has left. He was replaced by D'Angelo Vickers. That was then he almost died, so they had no one. Then there was an episode where Dwight was a manager, but he fired a gun, so now they have no manager. And in the interim, Joe made the person with the most seniority the manager, and that was Creed. And it just went off the rails. I think he drove in a sports car. He had a license plate that said new manager. He held meetings, but nobody was in the meetings. Half the people he was talking about don't exist. It was just a complete disaster. So Jim, Toby, and Gabe are interviewing people. Will Arnett was one of the people. Warren Buffett was one of the people. That was interesting. Uh, Robert California, James Spader was one of the people. Ray Romano was one of the people. Jim Carrey was one of the people. He was Finger Lakes guy. Robert California, the James Spader, was impressed them the most. And apparently what happened was there was a lot of speculations, like who is going to replace Steve Carell. There was a lot of speculation. It was also the actress who would be Nellie. She also interviewed for the job, and there was talk that it would have been her. So there was a lot of talk, and apparently they didn't know at the time who was going to be it. But I guess they were really impressed with James Spader, so that's why they offered him the job. And also he needed to remodel his house or something like that, so he took the job, something like that. Anyway, also the senator proposed to Angela, and Angela is just so happy. Oscar thinks he's gay, and Pam thinks he's gay too. Ryan thinks he's gay too because he liked a picture of his on Facebook at 3 a.m. Oh my goodness. So they were debating whether to tell her, but I guess they decided not to, even though she was being really annoying to Pam, really Angela-like and uppity and to Pam, but they decided not to tell her. So Andy interviewed for the job, and Gabe was still mad about that he was dating Aaron, so he just made his life hell. And he asked a question: how many miles is the Earth away from the sun? And Andy said correctly 93 million miles. And he said a little bit more about the sun, and Gabe said, shut up about the sun, shut up about the sun. It was one of the few funny things Gabe ever did. I was not a fan of his. Also, Daryl interviewed for the job, and he just assumed, he's like, well, you know me, so just give me the job. And he didn't even make a resume, so he had to go on Microsoft Word and use Clippy to make a resume. Kelly interviewed for it. She said, I manage my department and I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And someone said, your department is just you, right? And she said, yes, but I'm not easy to manage. and then Gabe said, okay, I mean, this isn't real, but whatever. What are your weaknesses? And she says, I don't have any assholes. That was awesome. Dwight the whole time was trying to get an interview, and he's trying to butter up to Jim, and he's talking to him in the parking lot. And he says, hey, how's the family? What's your daughter's name again? Pee-Pee? I think Jim says, no, it's Peppa. or Peapod or something like that. Creed is just crazy. He's calling customers and telling them that they're fired and that he's going to start his own paper company, and it was just goofy. Pam tried to distract him by giving him two pictures. It says corporate needs you to find the differences in these pictures, and then Pam says in a talking hand, they're the same picture. That you see that meme a lot. I use that a lot. There was also a subplot about Phyllis giving up a baby for adoption. It might have been Aaron, so Phyllis was kind of acting like Aaron's mother, and Aaron, she gave her advice and said she should go after Andy. If you really like her something, you should go after them. So, Aaron does. She pretends to be a puppet and says, basically, Andy, will you go out with me? And Andy said no. Not sure why. Their relationship was so complicated. Yeah. So that was part one. Part two was everybody was asking Jim's like, what's going on? Is it going to be Dwight? What's going on? And Jim tries to say, oh, I don't know. You try to be his usual goofy Jim self. Everybody's like, hey, this is serious business. You should take this seriously. And I love Ryan. Ryan is lecturing him. It's like, hey, Jim, you might want to take a break from the Jim character. You might find maybe you should be yourself or something like that. Just really smugly putting him down. And then he retreats to his closet. Joe comes in to see how the search is going. Dwight comes in. He had some fake French name or something like that, and he comes in as a burn victim, and he's totally bandaged up. It was so silly. Joe finds out that I think Kelly was mad at Gabe, so she basically told on him to Joe. It's like, oh, by the way, Gabe is going insane over Aaron and really being unprofessional. So Joe said, that's it, Gabe, you're done. You're going back to Florida. So yeah, that was the cliffhanger. Who is going to be the next boss? And then we find out the next season it was it was Robert California, who somehow decided that he was going to run the whole company. Then he names Andy the regional manager. Number 34, season 5, episode 10, The Surplus. When Oscar shows Michael that there's an extra $4,300 in the budget that must be spent before the end of the day, a feud breaks out in the office over whether Michael should use it to buy a new copier or new chairs. Meanwhile, Andy and Angela do a practice run of their wedding at Shoot Farmers, but Dwight has something different planned. This is one of my favorite cold opens of the whole series. It's Oscar coming in and explaining that they have a surplus to Michael, and Michael does not understand. He's like, why don't you explain it to me like I'm 8? And he says, why don't you explain it? And then Oscar does. He's like, why don't you explain it to me like I'm 5? And Oscar says, you have a lemonade stand and you don't use all the money, so mommy and daddy next year aren't going to give you all the money for the lemonade stand. And then when Oscar says, and next summer, and Michael's like, I'll be 6. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite moments of all in the whole series. So basically, Michael says, Oscar says we should use it on a new copier, and Pam says we should use it on new chairs. And Toby says, we really should have the office's air quality tested. I mean, we have radon coming from below. We have asbestos in the ceilings. These are silent killers. And Michael says, you're the silent killer. Go back to the annex. I love that. This whole episode, Jim took the side of the copiers and Pam was on team chairs. And then they were on opposite sides, and everybody was impressed that Jim would actually go against his girlfriend. So they try to butter up Michael, Jim and Oscar do, but taking him out to lunch, and they come back and Jim gives Pam a tiramisu. She's like, oh, thank you, and then she just dumps it in the garbage. By the way, That's the same. Michael just picked it out of the garbage and ate it, by the way. Um, so so Michael talks to David Wallace and says, I don't know what to do about the surplus. David Wallace is like, why are you bothering me with this? He's like, I don't know what to do. And David Wallace is like, why don't you just take the bonus? It's like, if you don't spend it at all, you get 15% of the $4,300, and that's $645. So, and Michael says, I hate disappointing just one person, and I really hate disappointing everyone, but I love Burlington Coat Factory. You could go in there with $645 and you were literally a king. So Michael says to everyone, you know what? We're just not going to spend it on anything because you guys can't decide. And Oscar says, you know, don't you? You know. And then Oscar just happens to say, does anyone happen to know what 15% of 4,300 is? And Michael says, it's $645. And Kevin thinks that Michael's a genius. Then he starts asking him more math problems. So in the end, I guess they get the chairs, but Michael still gets money, and he buys a fur coat at Burlington Coat Factory, but people throw blood on it. So he's like, some people think it's cool to just throw fake blood on you when you buy a fur coat at Burlington Coat Factory. I don't know why Burlington Coat Factory got so much advertising in this episode. Number 33, season 5, episode 24, Heavy Competition. Dwight chooses loyalty to Dunder Mifflin over loyalty to Michael, which leads to a bitter battle between Michael and Dwight over Dwight's accounts. Back at Dunder Mifflin, Jim pretends to confide in Andy. So this is in the middle of the Michael Scott Paper Company arc, and the cold open is Pam, Ryan, and Michael using creative ways to throw cheese puffs in their mouths. And they did. They were really good at it. And they had their morning cheer. UGLY. You ain't got no alibi. You ugly. You ugly. Your mama said you ugly. Hey, go Michael Scott Paper Company. I would like a cheer. So at first Dwight helps Michael secretly. But then he sees that Charles Minor is being really nice to him and giving him respect, which is what Dwight never really got from Michael. So he sides with Dunder Mifflin, and so he sabotages them. He tells them, let's meet at lunch, and then they don't go to lunch, and he steals everything from their office, and he throws a fish in the ceiling. And so when Michael finds out that Dwight is against him, he calls him. He says, I am going to come at you, and I am going to come at you hard. I am going to steal all of your clients, and then I'm going to kill them in front of you. Love that. So Michael has a Rolodex of information about all the clients, and Dwight steals it. And so he tries to use it, and he's called these accounts, and he says things like, say hello to Sherry, who is your black wife. But at the end, Dwight's biggest client, Michael goes after him. It's some book company or something like that. And Michael calls Dwight and says, I'm gonna let you listen in live while I'm stealing your clients. So he's walking into the office. Dwight comes in, and he's driving to there, and then he comes in, and they try to stop him, but he just does spin move, and he turns around. So it's Michael and Dwight in the office trying to talk to the clients, and Dwight and Michael says, okay, the customer says, just email me your proposals, and I'll review it. And Michael says, okay, don't forget, we have that Wilkes-Barre Penguins game to go to. So there reminds him that. And Dwight says, say hello to your gay son. Your son is gay. Because that was in the Rolodex. And then Michael says, I color code all my info. I wrote gay sun in green. Green means go. So I know to go ahead and shut up about it. Orange means, aren't you glad you didn't bring it up? Most of the colors mean don't say it. I love that. Number 32, season 2, episode 21, conflict resolution. Dunder Mifflin has a photographer in the office taking ID photos. Michael overhears Oscar ranting to Toby and decides to take on conflict resolution using a corporate guide. Dwight finds out about a position open in Stanford and suggests Jim takes the job. This really wasn't a great episode, but it was just Michael deciding to fix all of the problems just made everybody hate everybody. It just made everybody angry. And Michael said something about, what about the Angela dispute? And she said, you already did me. And he's like, that's what she said. There was a scene at the end where Toby takes the complaints box and puts it away in the warehouse, and there's like hundreds of other complaint boxes, kind of like the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Basically, all of the complaint boxes are from Dwight, and Dwight thinks that Toby is taking them to New York, and they're being dealt with, but in reality, Toby just ignores them. And Dwight gets so angry that he says, oh, that's it. It's either me or Jim, because most of them are about Jim. And so it's just at the end, Dwight says, you either get rid of Jim or you get rid of me. And it kind of just gets resolved. There was one of the big scenes where Michael says, okay, Ryan, you told Toby that Krieg has a distinct old man smell. And Creed says, I know exactly what he's talking about. I sprout mung beans on a damp paper towel in my desk drawer. Very nutritious, but they smell like death. And at the end, Jim talks to Jan about the job opening in Stanford. So this is almost the end of season 2. So it leads to Jim going to Stanford for the next season. But yeah, not the greatest episode. I'm not sure why it's so highly rated. Number 31, season 5, episode 12, The Duel. Moments before he leaves for New York for a meeting with David Wallace, Michael tells Andy that Angela and Dwight are seeing each other. Andy and Dwight then decide to have it out in the parking lot. The cold open was Angela complained about the traffic to the police, so they put up a speedometer near the office. And so they all use it to run. To run to see who's the fastest person. And I've tried to do this. Maybe I don't run fast enough, but it never registers a speed. So I don't know. But anyway, as Michael was going, I think 11 or 12 miles an hour, but then Dwight got faster and Michael said, oh, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. It was wind aided. But then Michael tries again, and there's a car that goes by and it shows 31 miles an hour. And Michael's like, that's a new time to beat. And they're like, that's physically impossible. I was like, no, that's a new time to beat. So this was the episode before this, was the Christmas episode, and Phyllis told everyone that Andy and Angela and Dwight were sleeping together, and everyone knows in the entire office except for Andy. And so Oscar says to Dwight, did you have sex in this office? And Dwight doesn't say anything. It's like, did you? Where, Dwight? Where? Kind of like the end of the movie 7. It's like, what's in the box? What's in the box? He's like, Oscar's frantic, like, where? Michael goes to New York to have a meeting with David Wallace, and the reason is the Scranton branch is the only branch of Dunder Mifflin that's actually doing well. And David Wallace is saying, how is this possible? What are you doing that's so wonderful that you're succeeding and everyone else is failing? And Michael just tries to, he just blabbers on. He says sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope to find it along the way, like an improvisation. So but the main thing is the duel. Basically, Andy and Dwight agree to have a duel for Angela, and Angela says, I will agree to whoever wins the duel." So stupid. But Jim is the manager because Michael is gone. So he says, "You cannot do this at work." He's like, "Fine, we'll do it outside of work. We'll do it in the parking lots." And so they I think Dwight had a chain or something like that, and his weapon, and Andy did not have a weapon, and he leaves a note for Dwight, and as Dwight is reading the note, he is coming. Andy is driving and about to run him over with his Prius. He's going really slow, so you can't hear the Prius, and um, and people in the office is like, "Wow, that's pretty genius. He deserves the win." So Andy has Dwight like uh trapped between the bush and himself, and they're basically screaming at each other, and uh Dwight Dwight finds out that Angela and Andy did sleep together, and when he finds that out, he is completely betrayed. He's heartbroken because he thought that they were not sleeping together. So he finds out basically that Angela was cheating on him or something. I don't know. But anyway, in the end, they basically end the duel, and they both don't want Angela. Andy comes back in the office, cancels the wedding, starts calling and canceling plans for the wedding, and Dwight takes the bobblehead that Angela got for him and just throws it in the garbage. So basically, uh everybody's sad. Nobody won. And Angela ends up with nobody. There was a great line from Meredith. She said, "I've had two men fight over me before. Usually it's over which one gets to hold a camcorder." Oh my goodness, Meredith. Number 30, season 2, episode 1, The Dundies. The second season premiere brings us the annual Dundie Awards, Michael's employee incentive party. Since it's mainly a vehicle for Michael's comedic performing ambitions, no one really wants to be there, and corporate's refusal to pay for their drinks just makes things worse. So this was the beginning of season 2, and really season 1 was just there, it just wasn't great yet. You saw the beginnings of what the show would become, but the Dundies is amazing. Also, there was Dwight investigated graffiti in the ladies' room that I guess Pam wrote. So in this episode, they're at Chili's, and uh Pam got drunk, and Chili's was very upset about this. You can't, it's not good for the reputation for to say, "Hey, come to Chili's, you're gonna get drunk." So they almost shut down the entire episode, and they agreed to have an employee, a Chili's employee there, saying, Pam went around and stole drinks from other tables, and that's how she got drunk, and she's banned from Chili's. So to save the reputation of Chili's. But Michael is just it's just he's just trying to be funny, and he's just not. So he's doing the Dundies at Chili's, and a bunch of people just started being really mean to him, and throwing things at him and stuff, and it just and after that happened, everybody like rallied around it because Michael didn't even want to do it anymore, and everybody rallied around it. So originally Roy was there with Pam, and Roy and Daryl said, "Let's get out of here, this is stupid," but Pam wanted to stay. So she gets into a fight with Roy, and then she comes back and sits with Jim, and she's she gets drunk, and she falls off the chair. So Ryan won hottest in the office, which is like, oh goodness. Michael was going to give Pam longest engagement award, but that really upset Pam, and Jim told him don't do that. So he changed the award to whitest sneakers. And when she won the award for whitest sneakers, she gives the famous line, "I feel God in this Chili's tonight." It's one of the iconic moments of The Office. In the end, Pam says to Jim, "Can I ask you a question?" But then she doesn't say what the question was. So what was the question, Pam? Number 29, season 3, episode 21, Women's Appreciation. Phyllis gets flashed in the parking lot, and Dwight goes all out to secure the premises. Michael takes the women to the in the office to the mall to comfort them, but he's really doing it to get advice about breaking up with Jan. The cold open was really dumb. I think Jim came in late or something like that, so Dwight gave him a demerit, and he says, "If you get enough demerits, then you get a citation. If you get enough citations, you'll get a violation. If you get enough violations, you'll get a verbal warning, and if you get enough verbal warnings, you get a written warning, which will be placed on the desk of your superior, which is Jim." So really, really stupid. But so Phyllis gets flashed, and Michael makes a joke out of it, and it's just he just really went overboard with being insensitive about this, and he tells Dwight to form a task force or something like that to figure this out, and or a security task force or something like that. And this is one of my favorite, one of the most underrated scenes in The Office. Karen says, "Hey, did you guys see this memo that Dwight sent out? Women will be sent home if they wear makeup or heels exceeding a quarter inch. Females are not allowed to speak to strangers unless given written authorization by Dwight Schrute." This is ridiculous. And Dwight comes in and he says, "Attention, I'm removing all bananas from the kitchen." And then he just leaves. What the hell? What is going on? And then later he says, "Everybody, this is a petition for the business park to upgrade their security cameras as well as install 2 floodlights in the parking lots. And I know what you're thinking. Won't that shed more light on the penises? But that is a risk we have to take." Apparently, Rainn Wilson could not get through that line, just as I could not get through that line. I don't blame him. Like, that's amazing. Dwight asked Pam to talk to Phyllis, and because she's an artist, to get an artist depiction of what the pervert looked like, what the flasher looked like, and she draws it exactly like Dwight, but with a mustache. So, and Dwight doesn't get it. He takes a million copies of this and says, "Put it all over the place. We got to find this pervert." While Michael takes all the women to the mall, the guys hang out in the women's bathroom. And at first, Jim's like, "What are you talking about? Who cares? It's just a bathroom." And Kevin's like, "No, it's much better. It's awesome." And he's right. They have a much better bathroom than the guys. So Michael is having lunch with the women at the mall, and I guess they're talking about fantasies or something like that, and Michael says, "Well, Jan has this schoolgirl fantasy," and Karen says, "Well, it's a pretty common one," and Michael says, "I just feel uncomfortable wearing the dress." What the heck? He just talks about how Jan is just absolutely terrible to him and that he wants to break up, and uh he finally decides he's going to break up with her. So he calls her, leaves a voicemail, and says, "Hey, just want to let you know I'm breaking up with you. I hope we're still friends, and it's not me, it's you," or something like that. So as soon as he finishes sending the voicemail, Jan comes in, and Jan says, "I'm very sorry about how things went. Can we try to make it work," or something like that? He's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Hold on, I have a voicemail." And she hears the voicemail of him breaking up with her. So Number 28, season 6, episode 1, Gossip. As the summer interns prepare to depart, the office gossips about them, and Michael feels left out. Michael discovers that Stanley is having an affair and tells everyone. When Michael realizes the damage he's caused, he fabricates numerous other rumors to discredit himself, including that Andy is gay and Pam is pregnant. And as Michael tries to clear the air, Jim and Pam admit that the rumor is true in an attempt to save Stanley from embarrassment. This is the season 6 episode season premiere, and the cold open was Michael, Andy, and Dwight doing parkour, and they would just go all over the office and do or what they thought was parkour, and they're outside and they're on the roof, and they were supposed to do some parkour, but Andy ends up falling through a box or something like that. Yeah, so there's summer interns and Michael feels left out. So, but he finds out that Stanley's having an affair, and he just starts gossiping with everybody about it. And then Jim tells him, hey, that's not cool. You could be ruining someone's life here. So he tries to fix it by making up rumors about everyone else. The one about Andy was funny because Andy was like, am I gay? That's so funny. And Andy was asking Oscar about it, and Oscar in a talking head said, "What exactly is my responsibility here? To comfort insecure heterosexual men? That can't possibly fall to me." I love that line. So to help Stanley, he makes up rumors about everybody, and everybody is talking, and then they find out that it's Michael starting all these rumors. And Michael says, okay, I'll come clean. All the rumors are false except for one. And he's about to say that Stanley is having an affair. And Pam says, actually, it's me. I'm pregnant. I'm actually pregnant. And Michael's like, no, that's not it. And Jim and Pam are like, yeah, she actually is pregnant. And she brings back the sonogram picture, and everybody is so happy. I guess the rumor about Creed was that he can't do scuba diving or something like that. and we have the classic Creed line: if I can't scuba, then what's this all been about? What am I working toward? Creed, love him. So the whole point of all that was to save Stanley from embarrassment that he's been cheating on his wife. But in the end, Michael ends up telling Stanley's wife about the affair, and Stanley basically just busts up Michael's car. Oh, dear. Number 27, season 3, episode 13, The Return. Dwight takes a job at Staples. Andy tries to bond with him to Jim's annoyance, which makes Jim realize he misses Dwight. Oscar returns after his gaycation. Michael rejects Andy's attempts to bond. Angela is upset at Dwight's departure and tries to reach out to both Oscar and Pam, and Jim hides Andy's phone in the ceiling to prank Andy. So, yeah, Andy basically just framed Dwight to get him fired, and so Dwight got fired. Dwight was interviewing in a bunch of places, and he's I don't know if he was asked the question or if he just said, he says, how would I describe myself? 3 words: hardworking, alpha male, jackhammer, merciless, insatiable. I think that was one of the 3 words. But in the cold open, Jim is just so annoyed with Andy, and Jim says, I miss Dwight. Congratulations, universe. You win. So Oscar returns from being from having a vacation, and the vacation was because of gay witch hunts where he was outed as gay, and Michael still hasn't learned a damn thing. He's still going on about him being gay, and Oscar and other people are too. And Oscar says, part of me wants the people in this office to have learned their lesson and just shut the hell up. And part of me thinks, you know what? Keep talking. I really want a home theater. Love that. So Oscar So Oscar's back, and Jim and Creed are in the kitchen, and Oscar says, "Hey, where's Dwight?" And Jim says, "You didn't hear?" And Creed says, "He's decapitated. Whole big thing. We had a funeral for a bird." And Jim says, "I'm pretty sure none of that is real." And Creed says, "You're not real, man." It's another thing that another scene that apparently really broke up John Krasinski. He kept he couldn't get through that. So Andy is just insanely annoying. He's basically stalking Michael, and Michael eventually says, just get away from me. I don't want anything to do with you. Just get away from me." And Andy says, "I'm sorry I annoyed you with my friendship." And at this time, Jim and Pam, who really aren't talking because this is season 3, but Jim tried to do the prank with Karen, but she was busy, and so he does it with Pam, and so they're working together, and they hide, and they take Andy's phone and hide it in the ceiling, and then they keep calling it. So Andy is getting more and more angry, and then Michael, rejecting him, basically sets him over the edge, and Andy just freaks out, and he punches the wall, and then he immediately realizes that was really bad. And yeah, so there was that. So Karen saw how Jim and Pam were working together, and how much fun they were having together. And Karen says to Jim, "Do you still have feelings for her?" And Jim says, "Yes." Like, uh-oh. So Dwight eventually gets a job at Staples, and he's doing really awesome at it, of course. And Michael realizes that losing Dwight was the wrong thing to do. And the um the plants weren't getting watered. Dwight would always rearrange Michael's things on his desk. Basically they just realized they missing them. Also, Angela says to Michael, "The reason that he did that was for me." And Michael does not realize that Angela and Dwight were sleeping together. And he says, "Oh, look how wonderful he is, that he would do that just for some random employee, some random coworker." So he realizes that Dwight needs to come back. So he goes into Staples, and it's like, and he says, um he says something like, "It takes a big man to admit that you're wrong, and I am that big man, and I was wrong, and we'd love to have you back." So he comes back, and it's a lot. And in fact, the song from Officer and a Gentleman was playing at Staples when they were talking. So it was really cute. So they throw a party for Oscar, a welcome back party for Oscar, and it was supposed to be all Mexican themed, but it was just really stupid. But anyway, Dwight comes back, and Michael's like, "Hey, everybody, Dwight's back." And Dwight's like, "You did this for me?" And there's a giant sign that says, "Welcome back, Oscar." The cool thing about this is that in actuality, Andy was supposed to be fired, and Helms, that was supposed to be his time over on The Office. That was it. He was supposed to be done. He was just there temporarily, but they loved him so much. Everybody loved working with him so much that they said, "Let's bring him back." So then they changed the ending to Andy saying, "Oh yeah, we all had a talk and decided that I need to go to anger management, and it's going to take 10 weeks, but I'm only going to do it in 5, and blah blah blah." So basically, just Ed Helms being a great guy, and a great to work with, got him his job for the for the next several seasons. So that's cool. Number 26, season 5, episode 27, Cafe Disco. Michael tries to create a place to escape from work in the storage room that used to house the Michael Scott Paper Company, while Jim and Pam consider taking off and getting married that day. The cold open was dumb. Basically, Dwight paid Aaron to say, "Oh yay, I won an art contest," just to stick at the Pam. Like, okay, that's just dumb. Um, so for some reason, there was a rule that the boss could not have lunch with the coworkers. And that made Michael really sad because basically that's all he wants. That's all he wanted was to be one of the gang, to be one of the group. And he wasn't allowed to, so he decided to turn the old Michael Scott Paper Company closet into a uh a a disco that also had coffee. So it was a cafe disco, and he was playing music. He held one of the speakers up to the vent, and this is one of those famous office gifts. He holds it up and goes, "Everybody dance now!" And so he's blasting music throughout the building, and but still nobody wants to come. Nobody wants to come. So Michael's like, "Oh, okay, whatever. I give up." And then um Aaron and Kelly are going to get the coffee back and basically take everything down. And they turn on the music and they start dancing. And then the advanced refrigeration guys see that there's girls dancing in the room. So they start dancing with them. And it turns into a party. And then everybody's down there. And it was just a fun dance party. And Andy and Kelly had a dance off. Sorry about that. Okay. So Andy and Kelly have a dance off, and um Kelly did the dance from Flash Dance, which I love. So well, Andy thought it was a dance off and Kelly was just like the dance. Um but yeah, everybody was everybody was dancing. Jim and Pam, they just woke up that day and said, you know what, weddings are expensive, let's just elope, let's just go to Youngstown, Ohio, and get a marriage license. By the way, it's where I got my marriage license. I don't know why. I don't know what's so special about getting it in Ohio, but anyway. So they head to they're going to get married in Ohio, and Pam is in this really pretty dress. I don't think Jim was all dressed up. Maybe he was just wearing a suit or something like that. But they stop over to see everybody, and everybody is just dancing and having a good time. And they decide, you know what, let's just have a real wedding. Yeah, this was just fun. It was just a fun dance party. It's just fun to see everybody having a good time. Um, Apparently when they were doing YMCA, Michael hit Dwight. I don't know if it was on purpose or by accident, but in the back where you could see Oscar breaking. So that was good. Oh, and that is it. All right. Thanks for listening or watching. Almost done. Almost we're into the 20s now. We only have a few more episodes of this to go. So thanks for listening, watching, and I'll talk to you later.